Have you ever felt that spark of motivation? That sudden burst of energy where you feel like you can conquer the world? You tell yourself, this is it. This is a day I start my new life. You buy the gym membership. You get the fresh notebooks. You clean out the pantry. You're on top of the world. But then, what happens? A few days, maybe a week later, that fire starts to flicker. The alarm clock feels heavier. The couch looks comfier. And that new life starts to feel like a lot of work. The motivation is gone. And you're left right back where you started, feeling a little more defeated than before. If this sounds familiar, I want you to listen closely, because we've been sold a lie. We've been told that motivation is the key to success, but it's not. Motivation is a fleeting, unreliable emotion. It's like a fair weather friend who only shows up when things are easy and exciting. The real key, the secret ingredient that champions are made of, is something far less glamorous, but infinitely more powerful: discipline. Today, I want to tell you a story about a man who learned this lesson, not in a classroom or from a book, but in the quiet solitude of his own struggle. His name was Leo, and he was a writer, or at least, he wanted to be. For years, Leo had been riding the roller coaster of motivation. He'd get an amazing idea for a novel, stay up all night, outlining characters and plot twists, fueled by coffee and pure excitement. He'd write furiously for a week, churning out chapter after chapter, convinced he was writing the next great masterpiece. He felt unstoppable, but inevitably, the doubt would creep in. A difficult plot point, a character that felt flat, or just a simple, tiring day at his regular job would be enough to derail him. The initial thrill would fade, and the manuscript would be abandoned, joining a growing collection of almosts in a forgotten folder on his computer. Each failed attempt chipped away at his confidence, leaving him feeling like a fraud. He had the passion, he had the ideas, but he just couldn't see it through. He was a prisoner of his own inconsistent motivation. One evening, after another failed project, Leo was scrolling through interviews online, looking for some magical spark of inspiration. He stumbled upon an interview with a legendary, old author he'd always admired. The interviewer asked, "How do you stay so motivated to write every single day?" The old author chuckled, a warm, raspy sound. He leaned into the microphone and said, "Oh my dear, I haven't been motivated to write in probably 30 years. Motivation is for amateurs. I'm a professional. I don't rely on feelings. I rely on a schedule." The words hit Leo like a lightning bolt. I rely on a schedule, not on inspiration, not on mood, not on a magical muse. A schedule. It was so simple, so mundane, yet it felt like the most profound secret he had ever heard. That night, Leo made a decision. He was done waiting for motivation to strike. He was going to build discipline. He set a ridiculously small goal. He wasn't going to write a chapter a day. He wasn't even going to write a page. His goal was to write just one sentence, every single day, no matter what. Even if it was the worst sentence ever written, even if he was sick, tired, or heartbroken, he would open his laptop, write one sentence, and then he was allowed to close it. The first few days were almost comical. He'd write, "The sky was blue," and be done in 10 seconds. It felt silly, almost pointless. His brain, so used to grand, motivational bursts, rebelled. "This is a waste of time," it screamed. "You'll never finish a book like this." But Leo ignored it. He was done listening to that voice. He just wrote his one sentence, day after day. One sentence. Something strange began to happen around the second week. Often, after writing his one obligatory sentence, he'd pause. The sentence would look lonely on the blank page, and he'd think, "Well, I might as well write another one." And that second sentence would lead to a third. And soon, he was writing a full paragraph. Some days, he still only wrote one sentence and walked away. But more and more often, the simple act of starting, of honoring his commitment, was enough to get the engine running. He wasn't waiting for the fire to be lit for him. He was learning how to create the spark himself, with the friction of pure, consistent action. He was building a new neural pathway, a habit that wasn't dependent on how he felt. He was showing up. Months passed, The seasons changed outside his window. Leo stopped thinking about motivation altogether. His focus was solely on the process. His writing session became as non-negotiable as brushing his teeth. It was just what he did. There were good days where the words flowed like a river and the story came alive before his eyes. And there were terrible days where every word felt like pulling teeth, where he was sure he was a talentless hack. But it didn't matter. On the good days, he wrote. On the bad days, he wrote. He wasn't chasing a feeling anymore. He was honoring a promise to himself. The word count on his document grew steadily, not in huge, erratic leaps, but with the slow, unstoppable force of a glacier. He was building his novel, not with flashes of inspiration, but with the bricks of daily discipline. One crisp autumn afternoon, almost 2 years after he started his one-sentence-a-day rule, Leo typed the final words of his manuscript. The end. He leaned back in his chair, not with a burst of ecstatic joy, but with a deep, quiet sense of satisfaction. It was a feeling far more profound than any motivational high he had ever experienced. It was the feeling of accomplishment earned through grit and consistency. He hadn't conquered the mountain in a single, heroic leap. He had taken one small, deliberate step, day after day after day, until he found himself at the summit. Looking at the finished work, he realized the old author was right. Motivation gets you started, but discipline is what gets you to the finish line. Motivation is the flashy sprinter who burns out after the first 100 meters. Discipline is the marathon runner, steady and relentless, who crosses the finish line long after the crowds have gone home. So, what is the lesson for us in Leo's story? It's that you need to stop waiting to feel like it. Your dreams are too important to be left to the whims of a fleeting emotion. Choose your goal, then break it down into the smallest, most laughably simple step you can take, like Leo's one sentence. Maybe for you, it's 5 minutes of walking, 1 page of a book, 1 new vocabulary word, 1 push-up. Make a promise to yourself to do that one small thing every single day. No excuses, no negotiation. Show up for yourself, especially on the days you don't want to, because on those days, you're not just doing the task. You're casting a vote for the person you want to become. You're forging your character in the fires of discipline. Every time you choose to act, despite your lack of motivation, you are rewiring your brain. You are teaching yourself that your commitments are more powerful than your moods. You are building self-trust, which is the foundation of all true confidence. Motivation is a tailwind. It's wonderful when it's there, but you can't rely on it to get you to your destination. Discipline is your engine. It's the thing you build, maintain, and fire up yourself, capable of powering you through any storm, any headwind, any long, lonely stretch of the journey. So, forget motivation. Fall in love with the process. Fall in love with showing up. Build your schedule, honor your commitment, and let your discipline carry you to places your motivation could only ever dream of. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content to help you build a disciplined and fulfilling life. I'd love to hear in the comments what one small, disciplined action you're going to commit to starting today. Let's build our discipline together. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.